Hello everybody, my name is Brandon Hopkins. Today I'm going to be your developer advocate, and what we're going to be doing is checking out a really fascinating tool called Mealie. What this is a recipe management tool for the modern household. Essentially, it gives you an absolutely beautiful interface to have your very own recipes, cookbooks, and a whole bunch of different things you can import from external websites, create your own, and a lot more. If we go down here to some of the core features, you see it's self-hostable. We will be spinning this up on Akamai here using a Linode, and you see some of the core features: import recipes, it's family friendly, you can invite people, create groups, a bunch of different things. And here is kind of a preview of what we're going to be diving into with an example of the dashboard with some recipes. So with all that, let's go ahead and get this set up here. This right here is my Akamai dashboard in the domain page. You can see I have a domain or a website right here, cloudguide.site. This is what I'm going to be doing. If you don't have your domain set up in here, I do recommend you do that. It makes everything just a lot easier. And what we're going to do real quick, just to save us a step, is generate an API token. What this is going to do is automatically create A records within our domain when we go ahead and fire up our Linode. So I'm just going to call this Mealie and then give it the full access to everything, create the token, give that a copy, and we'll be using that in just a sec. So from there, we're going to go ahead and create a new Linode. And to save us a step here, we're going to go into the marketplace. This is going to be spun up using Docker. So we can go ahead and use the Docker marketplace application to go ahead and grab some of those prerequisites for us as the container or as the Linode is created. So from here, auto filled in some things for me. I'm going to change this. I'm going to call my limited sudo user Brandon, give myself a password. And then from here, this is your Linode API token. We're going to paste that on in our subdomain. We could do whatever we want. You can see I've done a test. But for this, we're going to call it Mealie. And then the domain is going to be cloudguide.site. And then I'll just pop in my email there. I'm going to say yes to these just in case if later on we do want that to send emails. For example, if you open up your instance and you want people to be able to register, that may be important. So from there, choose image. I'm going to go with the latest version of Ubuntu LTS. I'm going to make this a little closer to where I'm at. We're going to go shared. The Nanode 1 gig plan is going to be fine. I'm not going to create a label, so let's get rid of that. I'm just going to call this the domain of the site. So it's going to be mealie.cloudguide.site. And then, of course, we're going to give ourselves a pretty decent root password. It's always a good idea to use SSH keys and actually disable root via SSH, but for now we're just going to create this as is. Let's create Linode. And here we get a bunch of information. We see our IP address, a little shortcut for SSH access. It's provisioning space right here for our Linode at the moment. And it booted up, it's running. So if we go ahead and launch our Lish console, this is one way we can kind of monitor it and see when it's actually done doing what it needs to do. And there it goes. It's going to do all kinds of things, install Docker, update it, all our prerequisites, everything. And when it prompts us to log in, you can technically log in here, but we're going to go over to the terminal and do some things there. So there we go. We can see a login prompt. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And right here, we can give our IP address a quick copy. And from there, we could jump into a terminal and SSH. We're just going to type in SSH, your limited sudo username, and then paste in that IP address. Whoa. Obviously, without any special characters would be beneficial. There we go. Let's say yes, and then type in that limited sudo password. And there we go. So while we're here, it's always good just to run a quick apt update and upgrade. So we're going to do sudo apt update and then a double and sudo apt upgrade. And we're going to do -y so that does it for us. Type in our password. And then there we go. It's running. Now, one thing we are going to run in addition is Portainer. What this is a really nice graphical user interface for Docker. It's really helpful with like setting up Docker Compose or stacks, which is one thing that we are going to be using. And this is really easy to set up. We're just going to do a new Community Edition server installation. This is going to be Docker standalone, and we're going to be doing this on Linux since we picked Ubuntu. And we just run 2 commands. We're going to do the volume create command. So we're back in our terminal. There was nothing that needed to be updated. That is good. So we're going to paste this in and we're going to run this as sudo. So we're going to create that volume real fast. Head back over here and copy this Docker run command. Paste it in right here. Run this as sudo, hit enter. And then it's going to go ahead and pull all the images and set that up for us. So there we go. Now we should be able to log in. Let's go ahead and try. And to do that, we can either use our IP address or our domain with the port at the moment. So for example, if I went to mealie.cloudguide.site, cloudguide.site, and I pointed this at the port 9443. I am going to need to add HTTPS, and this right here should take us to that Portainer instance. If I go advanced, continue, here we go. So now let's make our account real quick. Type in a fairly decent username and password, create user, and there we go. So now from here, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're just going to live connect to our local instance here. And from here, we could go over to stacks. And from here, we're going to add a new stack, and this is going to be our Mealie stack. Now from the Mealie website, if I go over to docs and I go to get started here, this is everything you need to know to get everything set up, including all the features, updating, everything. So if I go right here to the installation checklist, we have a bunch of pre-work, which is everything we just did. Get Docker, Docker Compose. Gives you more information on picking your deployment type, setting up files, things like that. But all we're going to need to do is go to the SQLite recommended one. And from here, this is the Docker Compose that we're going to be using. If you want more variables and options in your initial setup, you could check out the front or backend configuration. But for us, I'm just going to give all of this a copy here. Boop. Head back over to Portainer and then paste it on in. So from here, we can kind of go through this. We could see the ports that we're going to be using. This is going to be on the port 9925. You don't really want to change anything here. All this will kind of link together properly. But the one thing you do want to change is your base URL. So this is going to be Mealie at cloudguide.site. And you can see this is HTTPS. We're going to keep that because we're going to set up a little reverse proxy. And this right here, I'm going to change this to the actual time zone of the server, which is at Los Angeles. So from there, everything is looking good. We just go down here and click on deploy the stack. And that might take it just about a minute or so. And there we go. We can see success. The stack has deployed successfully. Now if we go over here to containers, we can see we have the Mealie frontend and API still starting. So we're going to give that just a minute to finish up starting up. And there we go. So now that everything's running, I'm going to go up here and paste in the URL with the port, hit enter, make sure that it's working, and it is. So now what we could do is set up a reverse proxy so we can have SSL and we don't need to put in that port. So we're back over here on the terminal. The first thing we're going to want to do is install Nginx. This is going to be our actual reverse proxy client. So let's go ahead and yes, proceed with that installation. If this comes up, we're just going to go OK, and it should be just about done. There we go. So our next step is going to be to allow Nginx through our UFW firewall. Hit enter, and we can see the rules have been updated. So now what we're going to want to do is actually create a configuration file for our site. And we're going to want to put this in the sites available. So we have etc Nginx sites available. You can technically call this whatever you want. I'm just going to call it mealie.conf and then hit enter. And then from there, I'm going to just paste in this kind of generic config we have here. We have the listening ports, which is going to be 80. We're going to use Certbot in a little bit, which will automatically kind of change some of this around for us. We have our server name. We're going to want to change this to mealie.cloudguide.site. And then under location for the proxy pass, we're going to want to change the port to the proper port, which is 9925. So Control O to output that, exit out. And now what we're going to want to do is link the sites available config to the sites enabled. So I'm going to paste in this line right here. We can see the ln-s. We're going to want to change this example to the actual name. So we have mealie.conf, and we're going to link this to sites enabled. So hit enter. There we go. And next, I think we just need to reload it. So that's going to be sudo systemctl reload Nginx. So now what we could do is actually test this out. So here was our previous site with the port. Now, if we just go ahead and remove this port, enter, it should work now. So we can see it is working without the port. Problem though, not secure. Let's go ahead and fix that real fast. And to do this, we are going to want to use Certbot. So we're going to need to install two packages, Certbot and then Python 3 Certbot Nginx. So let's hit enter, install these packages. Yes, continue. If this comes up again, we just want to go OK. And now we can actually run the Certbot command to generate our certificate. And that is simply going to be sudo certbot, and then we're going to do -- Nginx, and -d for the domain, and the domain is going to be the mealie.cloudguide.site, just like that. So from there, first thing we're going to want to put in our email address, hit enter. This is the terms of service. I do recommend you read those. Let's say yes. This is if you want to send your email to them. I've already done that, so I'm going to say no in this case. And now it is requesting the certificate, and it's going to make sure that you actually own this domain. We can see it's looking good. Deploying your certificates, and bam, we're good to go. So now, if we head back over here, and this time, let's go HTTPS. Hit enter. And boom, look at that. We got ourselves a certificate. So now actually accessing your new site's pretty easy. You're going to want to register. And for this, we're going to create a new group. We could call this really whatever we want. I could call it Linode Cooks or something. We're going to want to use seed data. You can give the option to leave recipes private if you want to, but let's go ahead and click on next. Here, just fill all this out. You do have the option for advanced content right here. If you're setting this up manually yourself, you might not want to do that, but for right now, I'm going to skip it and go next. So here we have a little confirmation page. I'm just going to click on submit, give this a second, and there we go. We can see registration successful, kind of filled in that stuff for me. So if I click on log in, we are going to just get a blank dashboard with nothing there because it's yours. You need to actually kind of build this out. We do have a lot of stuff going on. We have a meal planner here, which when you actually have recipes and stuff, you can use this. You have a shopping list, which is a very nice tool. All recipes, search categories, tags. And now that you've set up the reverse proxy and all that, it's really easy to connect to this from like your mobile phone for like using shopping lists, for example, actually like in a grocery store is really convenient. If I go right here to the little hamburger menu, it will get rid of that, bring it back in. What we need to do real quick is create something so we can actually see some data. So if I click on create, we have some options. We have import, create a recipe manually, or create a new cookbook. I'm going to show you both importing and creating. So if I go to import here, it's just going to bring up a URL, but you can really pull from any website. If I go to this old school mac and cheese here on all recipes, and then just grab this URL, so Control C, let's close that out, go back over to create. And then if I paste that on in, you have the option to import original keywords as tags. I'm going to check that for now. And you can stay in edit mode if you'd like to, but I'm just going to go ahead and click on create. And this pulls it very, very quickly. Boom, just like that. Old school mac and cheese, it imports the pictures, the ingredients, just about everything. You may need to do some editing if there's any issues, like 6 cups. 1 tablespoon. So there are some little things you might want to edit to make it a little bit prettier. And of course, down here, you have a link to the original URL so you can know where you actually got this. You have comments. Overall, it is really cool. And of course, to actually edit it, I just click on this edit button here, and then I could fix this if I want to. So you can kind of see the formatting preference and what it actually looks like here. So to fix this, I would do 6 units is going to be cup. Choose food is going to be milk. And that's just one example of me fixing it. And then I can scroll down, I can fix these if I would like to. I have the original URL there. And if I scroll up here, I can click save. And you can see it's not completely fixed because I didn't take out the little description part, but it's looking a little bit better. Now I could obviously create my own. If I go create recipe manually, first we're going to give it a name. I'm just going to kind of make something up here. Let's do fried eggs. Let's create that recipe. So you can put in the servings. Let's say this is 2 servings. Total time, this is going to take about 15 minutes. Prep time, 5 minutes. Cook time, 10 minutes. You could add a description, simple fried eggs. And then we have the ingredients. So we're going to do, let's say, 4. There's not really a unit. We'll just do 4 eggs. And get rid of that. Notes right here. You could do like medium brown eggs. Just like that. That's all the recipes we need. And then we have these steps here. So I could get rid of that and then type the step. And of course, add a new step, flip the eggs, and that's it. So let's save that. And there we go. We have our fried egg recipe. Of course, you could add pictures, more steps that make more sense. 4 eggs, medium brown. And of course, we could check things off while we're gathering all the ingredients and check off the steps as we complete them. And I just scraped the tip of the iceberg. Of course, you have tags, categories, all recipes, cookbooks, and a lot more. But I'm going to leave that for you guys to kind of explore, figure out, learn. Down below we'll link to basically everything I mentioned, including their documentation, so you could go through some of the features and really learn how to use everything. I should have clicked this a long time ago. They have a dark mode, so that's cool. With all that, there are a ton of other videos on this channel going over very similar services, fun Docker containers that you could easily spin up and self-host, and really a whole lot more, anything in the realm of cloud computing. Do make sure you subscribe so you do not miss any future uploads. And with all that, I hope you have a beautiful day and goodbye.